So guys, for those of you who haven't been here before, welcome. Please hit that like button, share it out to all your friends and family, your grade one teacher, your neighbor next door, grandma, they all need to hear about Canton Network. If it goes without saying, this isn't us trying to convince you to buy a token. I know Blockchain Bully is not invested in Canton Network. I am. Change, I don't know, to be honest. None of what we researched do we talk about before the show starts. It is all on the fly. When we come to you live, we are improvising, going with the flow as we, adding to each other's information as we see fit. At the very end, you are going to have the ability to participate. So I will be writing down, not with a highlighter, but with this magical pen that you can't see, and on this paper, we'll putting down all your questions. So if you have any questions, please feel free to add. If we don't know the answer, we will get back to you on that, or we'll look it up on the spot. So bear with us on that one. Anything else I missed, guys?
What's up, everyone?
Hello, hello.
Happy
Welcome.
Sunday.
Happy Sunday. I was creeping in the chat there earlier. Some good conversations having here, guys. I love it. Yeah, go Bears. That's awesome. And for just so that you guys know that you're there in the chat, there's a lot of people who've already started researching Canton because we, talked about it on last show. So if we miss anything that you might have found, please feel free to throw it in there. Like I said, this is, and like Caveman said, this is interactive. We want to, talk to you guys and hopefully support, the things that you're looking into when it comes to blockchain technology. So I'm excited for this one for sure. And I'm ready for you to take it away.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for joining us to another episode of Utility Unlocked. Tonight we're going to focus on the Canton Network and CC, the digital asset behind the network. This is a show where we focus on one utility asset every single week based on what you guys vote at the end of every episode. And we approach this from a perspective of long-term investing. So before, I guess, we kind of explain to you guys what the network is and how is the asset actually being utilized within the ecosystem, there's something very important that I think that we kind of have to reset the room with, and it's really the difference between a public and a private blockchain. Everybody kind of understands a public blockchain, right? That's your Bitcoin, that's your Ethereum. Anybody can use them. Anybody can tap in, see what is happening on the chain, and there's no permission that's required in order for you to verify those transactions. The openness of the public blockchain is the entire point. But the banks don't live in that world, okay? The banks are not allowed to openly show their balances. They can't openly show their trades, and they can't openly show their business relationships with one another, right? So they deal with private money, and they deal that within these private arrangements between their clients. So people may ask, well, why don't banks use Ethereum, right? They can't. The answer is not a technical issue with Ethereum, but it's a legal issue. So a private network exists due to the privacy concerns of their clientele, the banks, the governments, and the institutions. The private networks are built in a particular manner so that only a particular group of approved individuals can actually participate and look on to what is the activity that's going on into that network, right? So this is where your Canton network fits in, right? Canton is built for the banks. It's built for custodians and asset managers. So I wanted to kind of separate the idea of a public and a private chain. So the Canton network, essentially what it is it is a coordination network for institutions, right? It's allowing all of these different systems to kind of communicate and to function with one another without forcing them to give up their privacy, their control, or risking compliance with one another. So the Canton network, very simply, is built for institutions, right? They do different things between like bonds, digital funds, and collateral that's moving between one another, right? They're essentially managing the synchronization between institutions behind the scenes, okay? And these are trillions of dollars that potentially moves through these types of use cases, right? So Canton comes in and it kind of is becoming that network of networks for the private network aspect of it. Boys, would you like to add?
So I'll just talk about what it is specifically. So Canton Network is a layer 1 blockchain built for regulated financial markets. Explicitly designed to enable, as he was saying, privacy, preserving, interoperable, and real-world asset tokenization and settlement among, as Blockchain Bully was just saying, institutions. What it does is it blends attributes typically associated with public chains, so interoperability and decentralization, and private enterprise systems, configurable data privacy and compliance support. Now, if we're to take the CEO at face value, then with 6 trillion moving through the network, it's the largest RWA chain in the world. At its core is the global synchronizer. BeTheChange, do you want to talk about that? You're muted.
My bad. Can you pull up the white papers real quick? You were on the website. You could have went to resources. There we go. Question. Did you boys pull all these and look into each one of them?
Every page.
What are you asking?
So the different white papers that they have listed, I just want people to know the differences between what they are. But if you didn't look into that, that's all right. Wait 1 second.
But go ahead. I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Why don't you continue on the synchronizer?
Sure. At its core is the global synchronizer. As I was saying, it's built on DAML, so that's something we'll probably touch on a little bit. What the global synchronizer is, it's a shared interoperability layer that connects independent institutional ledgers and applications. And it enables atomic cross-domain transactions while keeping sensitive data visible only to the involved parties. It's a crucial capability of regulated entities. And that word atomic transaction, I really wanted to just talk about that for a half second, if it's okay with you guys. A transaction that's atomic, what it means is it either completes fully or doesn't happen at all. So again, just allowing for this atomic transaction, very, very, very important. John?
Yeah, I mean the one thing I was going to say, because I knew you were going to continue reading. So when you look at these white papers, you're not going to find anything in these about your market cap or your circulating supply, trading stats, right? Those are all secondary sources. We want to take things for face value and the things that you see that come out. So you have to verify the information. And I'm just letting the people in the chat know that you might see a source come through. You might see something that, makes certain claims. You want to just double check and verify those, right? And the best way to do it is, at least for me, is to take it, put it in a PDF, and then roll it through your favorite AI tool. It's a tool, it's a resource, and then you can then also take that and fact check it through the different sources that are making said claims. So, yeah. Did you talk about the smart contracts at all?
Not yet.
Okay, continue. Unless Bully has something.
Bully.
Yeah, but I guess before we jump into that, I do want to talk about R3 Quarter. This is something that's very, very similar to it. In order to understand Canton, you do have to understand Corda. Okay, so as one of the first companies to deliver both a private distributed ledger technology application platform and a confidential computing technology, R3 empowers institutions to realize the full potential of direct digital collaboration. R3 Quarter, they maintain one of the largest DLT productions in an ecosystem in the world, connecting over 400 institutions. So essentially, Canton pretty much built on top of technology from R3, right? Using Corda. Corda was specifically created for regulated finance. Okay, it was never meant to be public. And with R3 Corda, it's important to understand that there's no public ledger, right? There's no global ledger. Only the parties that are involved in this private ledger can see the transactions that's actually happening. So it was made perfect for the banks, right? But there's limitations with a private network. Every system that works in these private networks, they're essentially, you could think of it as like an isolated island, right? The banks are allowed to use this, but they can only use it internally. And a bank, if they wanted to use the private ledger as well, they have to use the other end of it internally, right? But the issue that they have with the private ledgers is that they don't easily work together with one another. So that's what Canton was essentially built to fix.
So not that it was built on top of R3 Corda, but based on that need.
Yes, correct. Thank you for the correction. It is
No
built to bridge the issues that R3 Corda had originally set out to solve. Thank you.
Nice. So we talked about privacy first, then controlled sharing. We talked about the network of network architecture, smart contracts via DAML. DAML. That's the protocol links the smart contracts across participant nodes and enforces authorization and visibility rules. This is emphasized in this public documentation that is provided via the Canton Network's website. And you already talked about the global synchronizer there.
We just did, yeah. I want to talk about the native token.
Yes, please.
Okay, so the native token, guys, if we don't know yet, it's Canton Coin, CC. We're going to talk about CC from here on in. It's a utility token used for transaction fee payments. It's denominated in USD, but paid in CC. It's a rewarding network. What it basically does is just rewards network participants. So we have validators, we have super validators, which I'm sure we're going to talk about, app builders, users, things like that. And also what it does, another thing it does is it supports the coordination of that global synchronizer. So the global synchronizer, just to bring back everyone to what we were just talking about, that global synchronizer, or DAML, I guess, both are kind of like one and the same, is really the bread and butter for what differentiates Canton Network with any other project out there. Do you have anything else you guys want to add to that?
Yeah. So basically the CC is here to support how the network is running, right? It's essentially tied to the utilization of the network, access governance, and actually getting inside of the controlled system itself, right? What is important to understand is this is institutions, when you do see them utilizing the Canton Network, it's not in the same way that you may visualize them necessarily utilizing CC, the actual asset, right? The institutions, they're not holding on to CC as a means of investment, but they're actually utilizing it to participate inside of this ecosystem. It's infrastructure.
Absolutely.
You touch on the tokenomics. Probably a good thing to touch on.
Well, while he pulls that up, I'm just gonna, based on what we're looking at here, Canton is, it's a purpose built for regulated finance. It's not retail. It's not meme driven. It's not a at least number go up scenario. It exists to solve problems that only show up at institutional scale. Let's chat about the tokenomics here.
So Canton's coins economics are utility centric. Utility centric is so vital in understanding what might be possible for Canton. This model is often referred to as Cantonomics, where every token in circulation is earned through utility and participation. And now, as of this year, you can purchase, as some of us are aware. There was no ICO. There was no pre-mine. There was no founder allocation. That said, okay, sure, that all those things I just said are absolutely 100% true, but acquisition of the coin it wasn't possible unless you were a validator or a super validator or a bank or someone who was using the network up until 2025. Um, Anything you want to say? Start over. Wadi wants us to start over, guys.
We're probably talking about his favorite part, tokenomics.
Mm-hmm.
So wait, does that mean that they don't need the coin then?
Well, they do for rewards. They do for the actual. Uh, I always want to call it global synchronizer. Uh, they do, and then they do for just so for rewards because it's not deflationary, right? That's the key thing about Canton Coin is actually, to be honest, in my personal opinion, humble opinion, I think Canton Coin is going to be a crypto trader's wet dream, at least at the beginning, because of how it's set up. So right now, there's 22 billion coins in circulation, approximately. The total mintable CCs over the first 10 years in the network is 100 billion. Weird. And then after the 10 years, there's a steady 2.5 billion 2.5 billion mintable coins based on utility. So if the utility is required, it will mint more at 2.5 a year billion. Fees are paid in CC and then they're burned, reducing the supply. New CC is minted based on measured utility. So like the validators and the app builders and the users. Adoption comes, and then this is how I look at it. If adoption comes, they burn more. And if they burn more, potentially speaking, the minting might not catch up as quick. Speaking about utility, right? And I think, just my opinion, that's when traders will be able to see, oh, wait a second, I can actually play that gap. And so I do think it might be a trader's dream.
So
I
I think this is also important to talk about is what Canton is, but what Canton does not do, right? Because there's a lot of misconceptions, and we can get into the pros and cons later. But one thing Canton doesn't do is it doesn't move money, right? It doesn't create liquidity. It doesn't handle any type of foreign exchanges. It doesn't issue currencies, and it doesn't replace payment rails. What it does is it defines obligations, and we're seeing that through some of the DTCC integrations. But it's essentially answering questions like, okay, well, who owns what, right? Under what rules, and when can we actually consider a settlement final? It's once those obligations exists, that's what Canton is there to kind of define those obligations. But once that obligation does exist in traditional finance, something else still has to move the value. So it is important to talk about what Canton is, but what it's not, right? It doesn't move money. It doesn't create liquidity. It's not utilized for foreign exchange markets, and it does not replace payment rails.
I want to address that. I just can't yet. So keep going.
I could talk a little bit about how CC obtains its value. So CC is the native asset to the Canton Network, but institutions are not buying CC hoping that the price goes up in the very same way that a lot of retail investors think that that's how some of these assets obtains its value, right? CC is used for its network usage, the access to the network, and the governance that's inside of the system. We could get into this a little bit later, but it is important to understand that heavy institutional use of Canton doesn't necessarily automatically mean that CC's price reflects that. Okay, it's infrastructure. It's not retail trading. That is something to understand. So you may have a lot of institutional onboarding, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to equate to the actual price of the CC token. It's not necessarily tied to the liquidity that it's actually being utilized to coordinate.
Yeah, and we're talking about Goldman Sachs. These are verified. BNB, HSBC, Euroclear, TTC is working with them. But like Billy said, partners, that there can be contributors, there can be pilot users, but you know, being in regulated finance, even if they're using these numbers, I mean, it's 6 trillion. I don't think that was anything that was new. It was capability tested, and you didn't really see that network translation in terms of value. So, um, but you wanted to talk about the liquidity
I
portion, I'm
do,
sure.
guys. I think it's important to know that, like, I mean, for most of us, we're kind of finding out about Canton in the last couple months.
Mhm.
Some of us may have been on it in April, but for the most part, this is a relatively new project for all of us. And so I'm going to challenge what Blockchain Bully just said, only because of the information. Because when I started looking up Canton personally, I agreed. I would have said the liquidity layer isn't there. However, I'm going to say a couple things here, which will lead you to think that there is a possibility that liquidity is plausible. Right now, it's not there, but is plausible in the future. So, a tokenized asset on one network can settle on Can's network using CC as a bridge. CC does have liquidity pools, meaning there are on-chain pools where CC is paired with other tokens. These pools exist on several decentralized dexes through liquidity levels vary and are generally smaller compared to big mainstream tokens. So right now it has Pancake Swap on BNB. It has a CC to or Uniswap, sorry, which is paired and wrapped with ETH, and then it has Solana Dex with Pump Swap. So these are ones that currently are on it. Not to mention, which I'm sure we're going to go into, JP Morgan just put their coin onto Canton, as well as Circle's USDC, which becomes USDCX. All of these are potential to offer the liquidity pools. I came across a video in my research, and it was with the CEO. I know we have to go back and talk about other things, but I just thought it would be really important. And in the video, the CEO said something very interesting. What he said was he could see in the future that he would bring on dexes that would essentially make it a dark pool so that his network can't be influenced by an open ledger that can be manipulated. Because the one thing he said, which I thought was pretty interesting, is that one of the problem ledgers have right now that are open is the fact that FX markets can front run. I know we're off topic a little bit. I apologize, but like it is important. So if you can front run with an FX market because you see the movement on chain, then you're essentially undermining what they're trying to build. Which is why he did talk about the ability to have a dark pool on that network, and the reason why they don't want to have the money visible to the public that's being moved.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I found and what I was looking into is that Canton isn't competing for liquidity. It's going to orchestrate it
Mhm.
using the network of networks, right? So liquidity will belong where the trust and regulation and the balance sheets live. That's we talk about the privacy and what's public, um, and Canton scales with the institutions, right? And doesn't replace them. So, like in my thought process, it was Canton is privacy coordination, the atomic, I don't know, atomic nature, right? And then you get your banks, your custodians, liquidity, and then a bridge or neutral settlement asset, you decide, and then your central banks could also do that too as well. And it's modernizing the entire system. So, uh, yeah, this interoperable word is just going to just continue to pop up and be a part of this scenario. The more and more we continue down this path of trying to unlock utility, right? They're not siloed. some aspects of it are siloed, but it's a lot of collaboration.
So
Which
yeah,
I definitely want.
in terms of the liquidity is going to move on pre-designated settlement rails that already exist, and it's important to understand what the Canton coin is built to do. Right? It's not built to move money. It's not built to settle trades, but it is kind of the coordination layer for things. Right? It's helping institutions agree on what is happening, and maybe the simplest way that I could put it is Canton is like writing the check for a bill at a restaurant, but it's not actually paying the bill, right? It's just writing the check of it's writing the check of what do we need to pay, but the actual settlement is happening on the settlement rails.
Okay, so we know it's not deflationary. We talked about that. We know that's based on usage. And just to hammer that home, think of CC less like Bitcoin, that has a fixed cap, or ETH, which has a semi-deflationary, and more like a network commodity whose supply responds on throughput demand. So that's the best way I can talk to you about, like, where we're at with Canton. The reward allocation, validators and super validators, they earn significant coins. Whereas application providers and network users, they also receive a portion, but not as, it is definitely skewed according to the research I did based on what validators and super validators are making. So founders, organizational background. Do you guys want to talk about digital asset holdings? Probably a good one to touch on.
Except for me.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, and I just wanted to throw on there too that what did you say earlier? It's the largest RWA project. Okay, okay,
Yep.
nice.
If the 6 trillion is a valid statement. However, I do have some information I can share at the end based on rwa.xyz that is Broadridge's information that is disclosed, which we can talk about later. But yeah, let's talk about the digital asset holdings.
So it is a group that was founded in 2014. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yuval Rose, Eric Sarnecki, and Don Wilson, Suno Harani, and Saul Kafur, I believe, are the founders of the digital asset, which is was designed to do this, what we're talking about, to launch the Canton Network with a consortium of financial institutions. So 2014, let's think back, it's a while ago, but this is kind of similar, I would say. Like, it kind of gives the vibes of the governing council of HBAR, something like that, right? So not a single owner, corporate bosses. It's this global synchronizer foundation. Please tell me.
Do you know much about the people? Because I love where they come from.
Tell me about them.
All right. So Yuval Ruse is the co-founder and CEO. He's the former developer at Citadel and DRW Trading. He led digital assets pivot toward institutional blockchain infrastructure. DRW is going to come up again, by the way. Eric, we're not going to go for his last name. We're just going to call him Eric. Eric was the co-founder and head of network strategy, build and manage the desk at DRW Trading in crypto markets and e-liquid commodity asset trading. Shaul is the co-founder and CTO/COO of digital assets. This guy, he's smart. He's a visiting scientist at MIT's Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory, and he's the co-author of LibSnark, an influential open source ZK Snark library used for zero knowledge proofs in blockchain systems. So he's one of the creators of zero knowledge proofs, of which Yuval claims that It has a purpose, but not really good for financial systems. But we can go into that later. So this group founded Digital Asset Holdings in 2014. They were not interested in creating a coin. They were interested in creating privacy on blockchain for financial institutions. And in doing so, they created DAML. DAML is the digital asset modeling language. Do you want to talk about that?
I don't know anything about it.
Okay, I'll talk about it. So essentially, DAML is an open source smart contract language designed for multi-party agreements. It's inspired by functional language like Haskell. DAML let developers model contractual business logic explicitly and correctly. It runs on multiple underlying platforms, and it enables complex workflows like payments and settlement and collateral across systems. It abstracts away specific ledger implementations while providing composable, audible logic. DAML has been adopted by large institutions. We've already talked about it. Goldman Sachs currently uses DAML to build tokenization infrastructure for multiple asset classes. The code that implements the global synchronizer, governance, and related on-ledger logic is written in DAML. However, DAML as a language isn't responsible in the sense of running the distributed system itself. The global synchronizer consists of both on-ledger DAML contracts and off-ledger synchronizer infrastructure. So it really is two separate things. And that is what creates the Canton Network. It's designed, like BeTheChange said, as the network of networks, where each participant retains sovereignty over its data, yet business processes are synchronized across institutions. And that, my friends, is DAML.
Nice. And if you go to look, I mean, again, one of the biggest things that I do when I look into projects is when you look into these founders, and it'll pop up, someone will come out of nowhere and be, the founder and CEO of this company, and then you find out that there's been issues in the past. I don't know. I couldn't find a thing on the team. No priors on anybody. Not even a bad a bad joke told. They've been part of this ecosystem for a really long time. So those are the things that you like to see, right? Like I'm not saying it's a bad thing. That's things that you're like, you're going to be dealing with all this money. I don't want you to have a shady background, right? So I thought that was great. So continue if you want to continue. I don't even know where we're at.
We're at the Canton Foundation.
Okay.
Canton Foundation, which was formerly the Global Synchronizer Foundation. Did you guys talk about it a little bit or no? No, okay. It launched mid-2024 under the Linux Foundation auspices and now governs the entire network. It ensures multi-party governance rather than control by any single entity. So the board of directors, this is the stuff you want to hear. So this is the Canton Foundation, guys, okay? The board of directors are these following people. I'm not going to say the people. I'm going to say the companies they work for. So Euroclear, we'll call him Jorgen. Digital Asset is represented by Yuval. Bitwave, Cumberland, Broadridge, HSBC, TradeWeb, Fairmint, Intellect EU, Seven Ridge, MPCH, Obsidian Systems, Liberty City Ventures, and 5 North. The institutional members contributing to the governance include Goldman Sachs, which we talked about, BNP Paribas, HSBC, BNY Mellon, Moody's Ratings, and Hong Kong FMI Services. That is a governance that you want to see. If we want to talk about the Canton timeline, Like we said, 2014 it was founded. We talked 2015. We had early leadership and funding. So Blythe Masters used to be the CEO. You want to talk about them? Her?
She's the CEO of the BitTrue. Is it not BitTrue?
27 years at JP Morgan.
BitWave.
She is she?
What, Sandy? What name?
Blythe Masters, which is a fantastic name.
Blythe. No, tell me about Blythe.
So she was in 2015 she became the CEO, and she steered early funding and enterprise engagements. Before joining Digital Asset in 2015, Blythe Masters spent 25 years at JP Morgan Chase, where she was most recently head of global commodities. That is somebody you not want to F with, I guess. The firm raised $110 million from major financial players, including CME Group, Deutsche Börse, Citi, signaling institutional demand. In 2020 to 2022, DAML grew. So they created DAML 2.0. It introduced more powerful interoperability, deployment capabilities, laying groundwork for multi-party workflows across ledgers and traditional systems. Private testing and development was in the early 2020s with permission chain test deployments. It began trialing various features before public deployment. Partnership transactions grew, and institutional trial digital assets on DAML blockchain concepts were starting to actually mature. 2023, things started to get crazy for them. Before I say that, do you guys know where it's actually not Canton, according to Yuval. It's Canton. Do you know where they got their name?
I'm not calling it
Sounds
that.
like that doesn't sound American at all. It sounds like maybe
It's not American.
Yeah, maybe
That's
if I
my
was
point.
English, that's how I would pronounce it.
Close. You're closer to England than it is America for sure.
Germany.
No, you're really close now. Switzerland. So the developers, exactly. Canton. So developers were all Switzerland, right? So I guess in Switzerland, all the, you know how we call them states, or in my country they call them provinces. All the different smaller districts are called cantons. I'm gonna call them canton, okay? And so they all work independently, but under one federation, and that's actually where they got their name from. So, which I thought was just like a tidbit that was really freaking cool. So basically, the same thing that's happening in Switzerland, which we all know what happens in Switzerland, and it's been doing very well for a very, very long time. That's what they wanted, the same type of infrastructure on their network. And a consortium of 30 plus global banks, exchanges, and tech firms, of which we've named already. We forgot Microsoft, but that was another one. It publicly announces Canton Network with digital asset as the technology backbone. Late 2023, testing phases with major banks, Goldman, BNY Mellon, and CBOE concluded. 2024 and 2025, mainnet publicly launched, which is when I think people started talking about it, right? Did you guys, when was the first time you heard about Canton?
Probably about
early last
a month
year.
ago, 2 months ago.
Okay. For me, I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. Another creator in this space brought it to my attention. I didn't think twice about it. I was like, oh, that's interesting, cool, and I kind of just put it on the side burner. In July 2024, Canton mainnet launched with the global synchronizer and Canton Coin, which is when the Canton Coin came out. I think is when people started to be like, hey, what's that? Canton can inherit the behavior of each smart contract based on data for interested parties in that contract. And that's kind of what makes Canton pretty special. So again, I'll repeat that. So it doesn't impose a belief system or this is how we do things. Whatever your smart contract says between Blockchain Bully and BeTheChange, whatever they agree on, that is what they take out. So it's special to their relationship. And on October to November 2024, all these pilot tokenizations of gilts, which is the UK government bond, and the euro bonds and gold with multiple market participants completed, as well as the APAC, which is the Asia Pacific custody, which expanded with Hydra X, a fintech infrastructure provider focused on tokenized capital markets. So in 2024, things really started to materialize for them. Basically, they were just offering compliant platforms to APAC and for things like trading and issuing and managing both digital and traditional financial assets. 2025 institutional scaling and strategic expansion. Some crazy things happened in 25 for them. They partnered with Chainlink. Anything else you guys see that happened in 25?
I mean, I knew Cantor Fitzgerald was working with them too as well. I believe I got to get the year on this. What's the actual date here? Listed among the institutions who process live USDC transaction on the Canton Network as part of the stablecoin integration. This came at the end of the year. This was the most recent, December 4th. Circle brings USDC to Canton Network through X reverse integration.
Yep. They raised 135 million, led by TradeWeb, DRW, Citadel, Goldman Sachs, BNP, and the DTCC and Pacos to accelerate adoption and integration of RWAs on Canton. So they are making the right moves. They token trading in 2025 began across major exchanges, spot listings, and liquidity events like KuCoin. For those of you guys who asked earlier, KuCoin, MEXC, Kraken, and Bybit are places you can purchase it now. And real world adoption expands to tokenized U.S. Treasury initiatives. And this is the thing that people probably, if you weren't thinking or talking about Ken, this news item is what brought your attention to it. Tokenizing U.S. Treasury initiatives with DTCC and potential on-chain stablecoin and digital USD rails. Do you want to talk about the DTCC?
Yeah. So essentially, what is happening here is Canton is helping the DTCC to make sure that every participant is kind of looking at the same events at the same time, right? And essentially, what they're doing with the tokenization of the treasuries is it's for efficiency, right? They want to reduce some of the inefficiencies that they have with the tokenizing it. What it's not doing is it's not moving money for the DTCC. It is not replacing the clearing and settlement of the DTCC, and it is not. They're not choosing Canton to replace the settlement systems that they already have in place. What they're utilizing it for is to help it with the coordination, the communication, the reconciliation, right? The updating between different ledgers between different parties, and they are helping them with their delayed settlement and allowing these institutions, or I guess the participants, to not be stuck in silos anymore. So that's actually what they're doing for them.
They're tokenizing U.S. Treasuries too, right?
So so the DTCC executives framed the pilot as a way to explore tokenization without displacing the infrastructure. So this is important to understand. I'm trying to get this to fit into the screen for you guys. Under the pilot, DTC participants will be able to convert their entitlements to the U.S. Treasuries into blockchain-based tokens. The underlying securities will remain on the DTCC's centralized ledger, with the tokens serving as representations of ownership rather than standalone securities. So that's what the actual CC is being utilized. It's a representation of the ownership rather than the liquidity from the actual securities.
So this is Yuval's words directly. Their partnership with Broadridge is processing 75 to 150 billion of repo daily. Those are his words, not mine. If you go to rwa.xyz, Broadridge's distributed ledger repo, it says it there. As of January 9th, 2026, it's $371.96 billion in volume, which is down almost 11% from 30 days ago. Repo, for the person who's just asking, basically their DLR leverages tokenization and smart contracts.
It's a lot.
$371 billion is not chump change.
It's not small change. And we were talking about partners, we were talking about institutions, right? Like there's big names behind this. There's no way around that, right? And what I think, we've always talked about consistency. We've talked about the right partnerships, and all these things and serving these purposes. But you have to understand, the technology. And I love that they working with the DTCC. Did you guys see anything on like the other pilots, like the Hong Kong Monetary Authority? Like they're working with global. They work with the Benji platform on Franklin Templeton.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a reason why these numbers are where they're at, because there's a lot of institutional interest. There's a lot of partnerships. Chainlink was mentioned. You've got Deloitte, Circle, BitGo, Flowdesk. These are infrastructures. Deutsche Bank, CBO Global Markets, CBOE, sorry, Chicago Board of Options Exchange, NASDAQ.
Yeah, the DTCC super validator, NASDAQ as well, validator as well, right? And their responsibility is like governance. BitGo, I think, is also important to really discuss. They're essentially the custodian to safeguard the assets, right? So there's a lot of them. There definitely is. I think on their website there's 219 participants, but that essentially ranges from, let me see. That essentially is ranging from applications, right? People that are involved in. You guys can't see this. I don't know why. Applications. You have the foundation members. You have the market infrastructure, servers, providers, wallets, validators, and super validators. You add all of that up, there's about 219 partners involved into it. So it's big. There's definitely a lot of involvement.
So there's some speculation on the BIS. Want to address that?
Go ahead.
Do you want to, Bully? I know you were talking about it earlier.
Yeah, before we address the BIS, I think that it's also important, before we jump into that, to discuss compliance. Where am I looking for this? So this was big, right? Once the SEC had announced the no action letter, this is really kind of when you started to see the news really fumble out. These institutions, they are not messing around with something that cannot survive within the rules and regulations, right? So when we talk about an asset surviving 10, 15 years, it's got to come down to compliance. It's got to come down to regulations. And Canton, from the start, was built with things like permissioning, identity, and all of these things, right? They were built from the start. They're not added on. They're not adding code into it. So it fits perfectly into the world of regulations and compliance. Now, in regards to the conversation about the BIS, right? This is something that I heard other educators talk about, and it was that Canton is maybe just the missing puzzle for the unified ledger. Now, essentially, if you guys don't understand what the BIS's vision for the unified ledger, well, it states it right here, right? It's a new type of market infrastructure. They call this the unified ledger that could capture the full benefits of tokenization by combining three assets, right? You have central bank money, you have tokenized deposits, and tokenized assets on a programmable platform. Now you have to be able to pay attention to what is it that the Canton network is capable of doing, and what is it that the Canton network is not capable of doing. I had wrote a note here, right? So Canton is one layer within this three aspect part of the unified ledger, but what is still missing is the settlement rails are still required, and the ability for the programmable platform, right? So you have that aspect of the Canton network where that coordination is there, right? That interoperability is there. We know that the unified ledger is not a one ledger to rule them all, but it is essentially kind of just a bunch of ecosystems that can coordinate with one another to really unlock the full tokenization aspect benefit of what the BIS's unified ledger is. Change, do you have something you'd like to include?
No, you're good. I just muted myself.
Caveman, is there something you'd like to address with the BIS's unified ledger with Canton?
No, I think you nailed it. I mean, what I have there for the unified ledger is essentially that Canton's network of networks, privacy, and atomic settlement closely models the BIS's unified ledger vision, which is what you just said. So, absolutely agree with that. Do you want to talk about the proof of concept?
Well, maybe I should explain a little bit more by what I mean by Canton is the one layer aspect to it.
Okay.
It's not the whole system for this unified ledger, and I think that this is kind of where the conversation needs to be held in order for you to understand what the Canton network is doing and what the unified ledger is trying to bring in for the aspect of tokenization. They still need a settlement rail, and they still need liquidity to move along that settlement rail, right? The Canton network is kind of just coordinating the discussions between the two, right? But we still need that liquidity. We still need the settlement rails. So there's still a missing piece to the unified ledger. Canton is one leg to it, but it's not all three.
Agreed.
Yeah, and the Bank of International Settlements didn't really come up in my research when I looked into the when you hear claims and you see people make videos, obviously you want to look into what's being said. And reading what everything that has gone down from the creation of the project to what they serve, I don't in my brain get the feeling that this is replacing certain things. In fact, it's kind of exactly how the systems are built, just looking slightly different, a little bit more technical. But it's kind of how, like, imagine a world where Ripple, I don't know, would be working with Canton. And Canton would be working with Circle and all these other places, right? I see this as complementary infrastructure. That's it's all about who's who, and they got the who's who.
Yeah, it's not replacing. Like if you're talking about Ripple, yeah, you have Canton that is kind of defining the obligations, but Canton's not providing the liquidity, right? It's not bridging different currencies. It's not moving value or funds across borders. There is still a leg that has to be fulfilled, especially when you're talking about the unified ledger. So I don't understand what people are saying that it's competing with anything. To be honest with you, I think that there's just a fundamental misunderstanding of what the limitations of what this network is and what the unified ledger has to have in order for it to be enrolled.
There's always, yeah, before you go, I mean, there's always going to be that, like, because there are individuals out there who, the moment that they see anything that is related to potentially being of harm to, certain projects, they're gonna focus on that primarily. Um, and you like to see that, right? Like, I want to see, is this what is this project doing, and is this really going to take over is it going to control everything, right? There was a time everything was going to run on Chainlink. There's going to be this is 2026, so now everything's on Canton Network. It's the same old story. Something new shiny comes into play. It's been around for years. No one talked about Canton Network and all of the trillions of dollars because no one knew about the Canton Network and how it was created in 2014. And anytime that you get new information, I don't think anybody was really even talking about the DTCC up until relatively recently, within the last 12 to 14 months. And now it's a topic of discussion all the time. So we look at the DTCC, we see they clear quadrillions. There's so much more to the story and so much more to the systems than just any single thing. So, but Canton looks like, I mean, it looks like the bee's knees, guys.
This is the CEO's words, not mine. He said, quoted from the, I'll share, if you guys are interested in watching this video, I'll share with you later. He said that there will be a handful of chains that will be the rails in a few years. They will be interoperable because the significant return on investments will be clear. So in his vision, there he does see, 3 to 5 actual blockchains that are going to be the rails of the system and will be interoperable. It's not my words. This is the CEO of Canton Network. But they can do so once the investment is clear. The return on the investment is clear.
And I do like the Citadel stuff. That was an interesting drop.
Fantastic. Can we go back to BIS?
Sure.
Because I thought that was pretty damn interesting. So, people talk about it being part of BIS, and it's not necessarily wrong. I just want to be more specific to what they were talking about. For real, there are reports that the BIS Innovation Hub, together with the Swiss National Bank and the World Bank, completed a proof of concept using Canton Network to tokenize promissory notes. This implies technical collaboration or use of Canton infrastructure, which is a BIS linked research pilot. Canton, as we talked about, it aligns with the BIS and the unified ledger thinking, which is what Blockchain Bully just talked about. And then obviously financial institutions involved in Canton currently are also currently BIS collaborators. There are several banks that we all know and essentially what I wrote is that the infrastructure players that participate in Canton Network's ecosystem also appear in BIS related initiatives, helping bridge industry and BIS experiments. Anything you want to add, gentlemen? I mean, there's pros and cons to every project, every coin, right? I would say that the pros for me are institutional fit and privacy. It's built for regulated financial workflows where confidentiality and compliance are non-negotiable. There's real economic activity, massive real world asset flows. The CEO, $6 trillion in movement, $280 billion in daily repo volumes. That's not speculative, that's actual reality. There's governance and alignment. Canton Foundation governance reduces central control, aligning long-term institutional interests. The tokenomics that reward utility, the burnt mint equilibrium, which is like what they call the BME, connects token economics to network usage rather than speculation. And that's one thing, if you listen to Yuval talk, one of the things he will keep talking about is the fact that he doesn't understand how we can give value to these projects that have absolutely no utility, who are not actually bringing money on chain. There's no TVL, and so in his mind, not mine, we're going to see a depreciation in things, sort of get it back to square one, and then through utility and adoption, you'll see up and to the right. That's where his headspace is at, and that's where the tokenomics comes into play. Strategic partnerships and adoption, there's deep integration. As we all know, you guys have all seen that big circle chart where they have 300 plus partnerships, validators, things like that. They're with the DTCC, they're with Euroclear, they have Oracle networks with Chainlink. Cons for me, adoption and liquidity. I mean, institutional usage doesn't necessarily equal broader retail liquidity. Right now, it's thin, the liquidity on the network. And just because big companies are using CC doesn't mean it's easy for regular people to trade it freely. The token doesn't necessarily have street level trading. It is really for paying for transaction fees, governance and staking, collateral settlement. So really, they're the ones that are going to move the price one way or another. It's not going to be us. Trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to say. Oh, we didn't talk about one of the bigger things. So we just talked about America, UK.
Micah?
I mean, no, like what it did with Lloyd's Bank and Archex. Sorry, we should. I apologize. Okay, so Canton helped execute the first blockchain-based purchase of a UK government bond using bank-issued digital tones with Lloyd's Banking Group and Archex. It tokenized UK sterling deposits and demonstrated settlement and that connects blockchain with TradFi banking systems, which is also a big thing because like UK is really, really, really stringent, as we all know, or strict.
No, it's a good thing for sure.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, all of this is screaming to me that once there's rules of the road, might things change? I don't know, but it doesn't guarantee, adoption, right? The Clarity Act and all this stuff that we talk about, but something like Canton can benefit, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would think so.
A technical kind of like drawback: developers must adopt DAML and integrate with custom privacy protocols. So that might be a little bit of a drawback for some devs.
Wait a minute, is this token have utility?
Does it have utility?
Yeah, does this Canton have utility in your eyes? Is this going to be used? Okay.
Yeah, it has real institutional uses. Yep.
Interesting.
Was there a mention of validators?
Yeah, there was. This was the list that I had quickly run through for that individual. These are the super validators right here for you.
Does it have real utility for you?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, that's the
Just
pro
making
to
sure
it.
these aren't just like speculative things happening,
Well, that's definitely the pro to it. It has real institutional usage, and it has that long-term survivability. Regulations compliance fits into it. The con for me would probably be the adoption for what they're actually targeting could necessarily be slow, even though we have seen some big numbers to it. And the aspect that if liquidity, it doesn't necessarily get affected by the liquidity that's flowing through it. That's absolutely the biggest con for me. The liquidity that flowing through it. You may see numbers like this, right? The $6 trillion on chain. Well, that's not affecting the price of CC. So that if you are to look into this ecosystem, it's important to understand that even though they have big numbers surrounding the ecosystem, it doesn't necessarily affect the price of the actual asset. So that's really important to discuss.
Yeah, and I think that would be this kind of the same sentiment that I have for anything that is utility focused, right? Like price won't be a reflection until regulations set the rules of the road, so then like how much is actually going into it, and then it all becomes publicly verified. But yeah, that's why I don't think that Canton is replacing any one thing, rather using each other.
So things that's actually going to start doing in 2026 or what they're working on, which makes me go, alternative investments, post-rate commodities, sports grade wagering, life insurance, private credit, real estate, and collateral, secondary trading, and fractionalized use cases. One of the things Yuval talks about is he wants to democratize private lending as an investor And as I said earlier, bring a DEX onto Canton so they have effectively their own dark pool and therefore liquidity. So
That's
yes,
the same thing
right
with like the
now, as
governing council, right? Like there's a large uh shadow players that are kind of deciding the governance as opposed to it being freely open
correct.
to you and all.
As
Yeah.
it stands right now, you're absolutely right. I think it's a yes, but, and I think I think in the near future, like 2026, I think we're gonna, when we talk about Canton, I think it will be one that does settlement and also the things it already does. That's my what I take from all of this.
So here's a question for you gentlemen. To the individual that may not like the idea of Hedera having a governance council, viewing that as centralized, what would be your viewpoint for the Canton Network having something almost very similar?
Absolutely centralized.
It's the same thing.
I mean, you can say it's less centralized, it's still centralized.
I don't
Yeah.
think that there's a thing about this that's decentralized.
No,
Yeah, no, there's not.
can't.
Can't be. Yeah.
But we know that narratives are not the ones that the institutions are not adopting the narratives. They're adopting real world use cases, what they actually need, and what could provide that at scale. That's why you see adoption, not adapting your narratives.
Yeah. And again, once the market roles are clear, I mean, we'll know what the payment rails are, the settlement networks, the coordination layers. You'll know what will be working with what, and we've got some time, I think, to be discussing these. But if you got who was it, the CEO or the founder of this, his perception kind of echoes the same perception that I've heard from some other, big guys in the space, where clarity will make a lot of things extremely clear, and the ambiguity, and there's a lot of things that I think could be in trouble, right? Which is why we focused on utility here, on utility unlock. So we appreciate you guys for being here. There's 128 people in here, 174,000 likes. You guys are awesome, and all the guys guys and gals that are here in the chat. I know that you guys are, throwing stuff at our way. Make sure you guys keep it interactive. And hell yeah, man! I just wanted to reset the room real quick. Thanks for being here.
Yes, thank you guys. I mean, yeah, for me, for me, this is something that I would, I did gravitate towards because this is where I think the future is headed for, fintech and TradFi. To what degree and how much value our investments will generate. I honestly think that this is going to be a long-term play. I don't think this is a short-term, you know, ape in because you think it's going to go to the moon. I think this is a long-term play for us, which I'm 100% okay with.
Totally fine with.
Yeah, my overall impressions, I guess, I think it's here to stay, right? A lot of people may or may not like it, based on how private, how centralized it is, how controlled it is. But that's not the weakness. I think that that's the entire point of the entire ecosystem. And it's an infrastructure play, right? So for many retail investors, they may view these infrastructure plays as boring, but it's reliable, right? That's what you really need to take out of it, is that it's reliable. And I think that in a world where you have these private ledgers, right? Because private ledgers, you need them for healthcare records, you need them for banks, you need them for government records. As more private ledgers develop and become more suitable for institutional adoption, I think that something like this will also increase the need for interoperability, right? Settlement rails. I think that it will kind of solve that issue of fragmentation. I think that it's going to do well for the overall market, right? It's going to increase demand for the overall market. So it's definitely something to look into. I think that it is I think it's going to be successful.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, when I looked into this Monday morning, right after last week's live, and did some more research on the subject, and yeah, I mean, some of the first things that you see about it, you're like, okay, well, let's continue to deep dive, right? And you keep looking into it, and you just find more and more things to like about it. But at the same token, this isn't your, when Moon, when Lambo, right? It is literally doing all of these things and talking about where we're headed into the 24/7 365 continuous trading. I mean, the way that the world is going to be moving, we have to pay attention to that. And I'm just really glad that there's so many people here that are interested in this subject, because I do think that these blockchains that have utility will live on, and there's a lot of them out there that I don't think will make it, but that's my opinion. So,
I think we all three of us can agree that this supports our general thesis that we are shifting out of speculation into a market driven by utility. Institutional players can only adopt the ecosystems that can operate inside of the rules. This is another perfect example of it. So I think that this is just, if people are excited about this, then they are seeing it from the lens that we do.
Yeah, I scored through like literally every freaking video that this guy did. Okay, one of the things he did say, which I wanted to mention, is right now for repos and money, like moving big money, we go from like a T. We're a T+2, T+3 days to move money. What he wants to create, and I think is something really important for everybody, is T plus the optimal time to settle, right? So it doesn't have to be 40,000 TPS per second, because that might not be optimal for a TradFi situation. He also said that and this is something I really want everyone to remember, because this is what the three of us think, and this is what a lot of other big players in the space were saying. He sees wholesale replacement of the entire system over time. The reason it's going to take time is because it's expensive. Large players are going to adopt this first. And he also said, which I thought was pretty interesting, and this is for everybody who said a bunch of things about XRP. He's had multiple conversations, this is the CEO, for collaboration between other layer ones, because there are different use cases, which is what Blockchain Bully was saying earlier. I will say this, he never, ever mentions XRP or Ripple, not once. But to someone's question, Ripple bought Hidden Road, which is with Canton. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
yeah, and this is one of those ones where it's a network effect, man. Like,
Correct.
ultimately, when there's more activity, I mean, we're talking $6 trillion of activity on this bad boy, right? But they're also talking about quadrillions at the DTC, right? They're talking about tokenizing $867 trillion worth of assets, and it isn't all going to just be on Canton, right? That would just put Ondo out of business. You would do all kinds of things, right? But I think once we have the regulations and we get the clarity we're looking for, then that's where the trust comes into play. And then when trust comes into play,
Sorry.
mm-hmm.
Conversations with Evan asked, how can we verify? He had hard time verifying the 6 trillion on chain. How do you guys want to go about that?
That's ironic, because I was just about to bring up RWA.XYZ and what Canton did to you because of that. And what it did to me, I'll just speak for myself, was like, does Canton kind of open the door or pull the curtain back and you get to see who the great Wizard of Oz is? Because like, you can't really necessarily take this information as face value anymore, especially when there are networks like Canton who are saying, hey, you know what? We're not going to be able to give you the information you guys want because my clients don't want to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, Evan, if he's still here, he's absolutely correct. Evan, the only thing that I can say to that answer, or for that question, for me at least, is if a CEO is coming on national TV or a publication and talking about how much money is going through his network, and that person is connected with the DTCC and is a regulated body and is following the compliance issues, I mean, you kind of have to take it at face value, unless you're told otherwise. What I did look up is the you want to pull up rwa.xyz, fully. If you go at the very top, oh, is it there? Yeah, it's there. So if you go to the very top and typed in Canton, Broadridge will come up and it'll show you the 200 billion, or maybe it's there already. I can't really see.
356. This was last updated, I believe, in January of 26.
And that's just the Broadridge DLR, right?
Yeah, it's odd because it says it was updated 1/12/26, which is tomorrow. But
Nice. Maybe they're in Japan.
yeah, so if this,
I thought it was notional value. It was the 6 trillion doesn't represent market capitalization locked value by Canton Network or collateralization of the crypto asset, except it is represented or referenced, processed, as opposed to new money coming into the system. That's what I was.
well, it's saying on chain, right? They're saying $6 trillion in tokenized assets. We haven't even hit $1 trillion. They're quoting the $4 trillion repo, $6 trillion in tokenized assets that's being managed on chain. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but are we not?
You can go to Canton Scan. Did you see that bad boy?
No.
Let's see. If I can find it, I'll send it to you.
What are we looking for here?
I don't think it's sus, Kelly. I think they're not disclosing. Why would you have a private network and then just give all the information out? Right?
Well, I mean, here's the thing, right? When you talk about like dark pools and liquidity moving through it, we can't actually verify that. That's the whole basis of the networks, is that you can't actually verifying it. People talk about other networks having these dark pools, and that's liquidity that's happening on the private networks, but there's no way for us to actually verify that. But if they're stating $6 trillion on chain, then
well, you guys are looking at that. A couple of things. There's some questions. By the way, guys, now is the perfect time. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll write them down. I have written down a couple. The first question was there an ICO? And the answer is no, there was not an ICO. And then the other question was there funding? There were 2 rounds of funding. And of course, I'm pretty sure one was 135 million. And the other one was around the same thing. So in 2025, they raised 135 million. And then at the very beginning, pretty sure they raised a bunch of money too.
change, unless you can find something.
I just sent it to you on our Discord. This is the Ether scan for Canton, basically.
Yeah, that's what I'm in. So what should we be? I mean, are we going through second by second with the total amount of CCs that
No,
were?
so I'm looking at the statistics here. I'm just trying to find where the 6 trillion on chain is. and I will let you know if I can find it in just a second.
My best educated guess would be that it's probably, if anything, it's all private networks, right? That's your dark pools. I mean, but for them to kind of come out and state the 6 trillion and not be able to verify that on chain, it has to be indicated in the private ledgers. That's my best educated guess.
Yeah, I would agree.
Either that or they're fucking lying. I mean, it's one or the other, right? It's one or the other.
It's
Either
not
the
the
6
best
trillion,
pizza in the world.
either the 6 trillion is really on chain, but we can't verify it because it's on a private chain, or they're lying about the 6 trillion. It's one or the other. So I don't know. If we can't verify it, then you, as an educated investor, you come to your own conclusions.
And this would have never, and I just want to say this. This would have never came up if I don't really think anyone. There was a creator on YouTube just plugged the XRP connection into this, and then it became a topic of conversation in the crypto sphere here on TikTok, but anywhere else. This is essentially, I think someone said it in there. I mean, this is kind of like the opposite of what you would thought of what distributed ledger technology was supposed to be about. But yeah, I was telling Caveman this. I mean, you could say anything about your company, and you can make claims, and you could say, hey, listen, we tested this, or we've done this, and that is what they want to see, right? Real use case, but it's not reflective and indicative of the price. So what that does tell me is either none of this matters, or they're waiting for regulations.
Yeah. Speaking of that, that was one of the questions. What if they don't pass the Clarity Act, boys? What happens to a project like Canton? Now, they're already with the DTCC. They're already over in the UK. They're already making partnerships with major banks. So, what do you think happens, in your opinion?
I mean, if the Clarity Act doesn't happen whatsoever, the entire industry is done for. Like for the most part, it's literally it's everything, and probably the most important piece of legislation when it comes to. I mean, they're like, the Genius Act doesn't even make any sense if the Clarity Act doesn't get passed, and there isn't any market structure outside of everything is only Bitcoin. That's the world we will move into. But if the Clarity Act gets passed, then subsequently Canton Network does well, because now there's new, there's rules of the road, and again, it's a network of networks, right? Let's not forget that. So it'll be touching the securities, or tokenization, all this different stuff. So, but I mean, if the Clarity Act doesn't get passed, man, we got bigger stuff to talk about other than Canton.
That's fair. For the people who are asking about like payment or pricing for Canton and why it's 14 cents, I want to just remind, like, if you weren't here at the beginning, I'll just go over what it's used for, what CC is used for. It's used for transaction fee payments. It rewards network participants, and it supports the global synchronizer. It's not deflationary. It is use case. So what that means is, so BeTheChange, he uses Canton Network. I give him a bunch of coins. Those coins are burnt, and you turn that back into whatever stable coin or dollar you want. And then on the same point, I can mint more coins. It's 22 billion coins right now in circulation, and for the next 10 years, based on actual use case, there'll be 100 billion max will be minted. After 10 years, 2.5 billion coins can be minted per year, based again on use case. So if there's a demand, if it's being used, then they will keep minting these. I said at the very beginning of the show that I think, at the beginning at least, this is going to be a trader's dream, at the beginning. And then I think you'll probably see more of a slow burn up into the right. But that again is just speculation. It's just my opinion.
Yeah. Somebody asked a question on the probability of the Clarity Act passing. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can look at this. I mean, I think from a political aspect, how this could be used fundamentally. I do like the fact that at the very start of last year, literally right away, it was executive orders, it was Bitcoin reserves, it was digital asset treasuries, it was all these things. And the very first quarter made it about the Genius Act. Now, first quarter this year, they're making it about the Clarity Act. How long does this drag out? Well, there might not even actually be an effect till March, April sometime. And if they don't, and I just saw Charles Hawkinson talking about this today, if they don't pass this, then we might have to wait until 2029 for the next, uh, you know, administration.
Well, if that ends up playing out to be, the United States does not become the crypto capital of the world. That's the downside to it. You'll have real competitive. Honestly, my bet between Japan, Singapore, the UK, I would probably put it on the UK.
Yeah, man. So it's a big deal. I think to the normal people of the world, no one even knows the Clarity Act is getting voted on Thursday. But here we are, right? Here's 128 people and more, right, who care about this thing. And again, I think there's going to be a lot. I said this last week. I'll keep saying it. We're going to see all kinds of narratives, all kinds of stuff. Just don't be emotional with it. Just wait until we get the decision before you make any choices that you might regret later. Okay? The caveman's doing it right now. Whatever he's doing, he'll regret it later. He's like, but yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to scare anybody, but I mean, this is just what it is, right? That's what's out there. They're going to vote on it on the 15th, and they could potentially stall. You've got all these people involved. It might bounce around inside of the Senate. They were talking about even bringing back the Genius Act and redoing it. So for me, it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't know. I don't know where we go from that point on, but it's pay attention. Pay attention to what we see, and not just if I get sent another video or another screenshot of some other creator saying something, and it not be the actual piece of news, right? Like I just like verified sources. Wait for the stuff to be verified before you start talking about it and spend an hour on it.
There was a question, guys. Am I correct? Not me, somebody in the chat. Am I correct in saying Canton is like a car riding the rails?
No,
I would say, if anything, it would be like the signs on the highway, kind of directing where the cars should be moving, right?
Yeah, I would call it
I think I said the example I gave before. It's like Canton is kind of writing the check. It's displaying what needs to be put on the bill, but it's not actually paying the bill at a restaurant, right? It's kind of just writing that information on the check at a bill at a restaurant, but it's not actually paying the bill.
Yeah, I mean, I would say you can go through Illinois, you can go through New York, you go through the different places. You have to pay certain tolls. Those tolls go right, but it's not all the same entity, right? You're going to pay to be on different networks. It's going to be used in different areas. But I would agree with Bully in that comparison, pointing the direction and which way to go. That network of networks. You want to go to this highway. You could say that's all on the highway. Well, if you're in my area, that's like 4 different highways you could hit, right? So it's not just one highway; it's many.
Where else have we heard that term, network of networks?
Well, now it's the Internet of Value.
No, the network of networks comes from.
Oh, is it BIS?
No, R3 quarter. I thought.
I had a
R3
feeling it
had
was one of
something
the
like
other
that.
interoperability solutions out there
Or
that we've heard.
RTGS?
No, I had a feeling that another interoperability solution out there had kind of called themselves the network of networks.
Stealing names?
Google says Chainlink. I wonder if Quant would apply to that. I don't know.
Quant. Oh, yeah, shit.
Just says Canton for me.
Swift.
Yeah.
Cosmos, the Internet of Blockchains. Polkadot, I love this. A heterogeneous multi-chain network. Oh, RippleNet. Network of payment networks. Yeah, Corda.
Very interesting.
Is it ISO 222 compliant? Sorry. Sorry.
Is that a question?
No.
No. I guess the last one, which we kind of already talked about, does Canton affect XRP in your opinion?
No. If anything, it would need a solution like it. Right?
Yeah.
Canton's the orchestration layer. What it doesn't have is settlement rails. It doesn't actually move value. So you got to understand the limitations of Canton Network. As we described, especially with the BIS's unified ledger, it's only completing one out of the 3 legs that's needed for the full tokenization of the world.
Sorry, I'm answering this person. Someone asked what the difference is, the Clarity Act and the Genius Act. I'll touch on that later. It's a lot, man. But no, I mean the thought process. I can see where it comes into play, especially if your life revolves around the doom and gloom of the XRPL and Ripple. Yeah, it seems like a perfect scapegoat to this is the competitor to this just stops them from even existing. Why on earth did they buy Hidden Road to do all this stuff and Canton's been around all this time? Um, so no, I don't think that. I think that they work together in an interoperable world, in a multi-chain world, serving different purposes and providing different types of utility. There is not one chain to rule them all. They must work together. Um, you know, I think there will be choices, right? And I think like when we talk about regulation and how much that actually does matter into the future of finance, then yeah, I mean, a lot of these pieces have to fit into this puzzle, and some will and some won't. Does that mean that people, won't see the benefit? No, it doesn't mean that. But I think, you know, having the time and being patient, and having a macro vision helps you see things more clearly as opposed to honing in on the candles or charts. Helps you understand that what is actually being built can actually be built, and you could help it too, right? There's a lot of projects that are coming to a lot of different chains, and I mean, I just saw gold might be coming to the XRPL in the form of tokenization via our boys Dom and Phil Kwok. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there.
There was a question in chat asking, can you stake CC?
I have no idea.
Bullet? Okay, so the answer is no. Guys, there's no native staking because there's no proof of work mechanism for on the chain. However, there are exchanges that do allow certain things. KuCoin, for example, is running a temporary staking farming event where users can stake CC USD1. We didn't even talk about the stable coins that are on Canton Network, by the way, because there's a
I mean,
few.
there's a lot, yeah.
Yeah. There's also Kraken, which lets users earn a small 0.1% reward APR on CC holdings. So there are exchanges you can use that will allow you to get some sort of reward based on your CC, but natively, like, no. The answer is no. And apparently, FM Dennis 73 says that the Braun wallet has CC staking as well. As far as um, cold storage for Canton, we didn't talk about that.
You can't pull it off the exchange, right?
No, well, you can. I found out today you could, but it's one specific wallet that's
Ah,
on their website. Shite.
you have to let them hold it.
Yeah, you got it right there, right? Which one? What's it called again? It's a weird name.
Trezor?
No, no. It's like it's not one any of us have ever talked about.
Cypher Rock?
Cypher Rock.
Maybe.
Ledger's in development. You see that? Early January 2026.
It's like X1 or something weird. Give me 1 second. I will find it.
You know, you would think it would be like on their website.
It is. I found it on their website.
Okay.
I just clearly it is called X1. It is called Cypher Rock X1. So is that what you said? I think that's what you said, right?
Yeah.
So according to Can's website, the only cold storage hardware wallet that is compatible is the Cypher Rocks X1. For those of you guys who want, there are other like places you can hold it, but for cold storage, that's what they're saying. Ron Wallet is one of them. Yes, absolutely, Tally. Hey, Tally, how are you?
They do have Ledger listed on their website, oddly enough. But according to Google, it says that it's in development.
Yeah, I mean the list of partnerships, I mean, it is
That's insane.
long. It is long, my friends. But yeah, I mean,
So where are you guys at with this? Like, you guys, both of you guys are not. I think I'm the only one, right? That's invested in it right now. Is this something you would consider?
yes.
Yeah, for me, it fits all three rules for me. Use case, right? It's solving a problem that's worth a lot of money. Partnerships and integrations, big names tied to it. Rules, regulations, and compliance. It can survive 10, 15 years. So for me, it checks all three boxes. What it comes down to me personally, like why I haven't invested into it is because if I'm adding something into my portfolio, it has to have a better upside than the things that I'm currently stacking right now. So that is, even though I like the project, I like Chainlink as well, but when I compare that to the things that I'm kind of stacking right now, I have to compare one and another. But I think that it is something that deserves to be in the portfolio. I'm just not sure that it's going to be positioned in there right now.
So
Yeah.
I'm
I
gonna
would have go ahead.
I'm gonna put on a tinfoil hat for a second. I
Well,
think
hold on.
that
Before you do that,
Ripple.
um, I would say that this is one of those plays too that when you look at this particular asset, you know, someone said it in the chat earlier, like pay attention to how it behaves, right? And maybe follow some of the people that, you know, you saw in here earlier, that do the charting that can give you that, you know, precise moment. And we all know that even then it might even go down, right? Because it happens, right? Especially in the world that we're in right now, where it's this gray area. We are in a gray area right now until there is full blown, just written, etched in stone law. So, I mean, I would say, you know, yeah, probably consider the banks, the institutions, all of the partnerships that it should take up a certain percentage of your portfolio. Whatever that percentage is it's up to you, right? But I would consider this massively undervalued for where it's at right now. Can you imagine? It's 14 cents. And neither can I. I am Rod. I am Rod. Great God. Yeah, man. Did you guys get away from that thinking they can just mint as much as possible and it
They
never go
will,
away? Yeah.
but they burn it right away, so it doesn't really matter. So you can mint 300 billion over time, technically speaking, but there won't be 300 billion because once you use it, presumably you're going to redeem it, and then it gets destroyed. Um,
You were gonna say tinfoil hat shit, and I shut it down. Sorry. Go.
there's not a world where Canton and Ripple don't work together. In my mind, I think these guys are two cut from the same cloth in every way, shape,
100%.
or
And
form.
Citadel having anything to do with the early
BNY Mellon. I mean, if
bro.
you guys don't see this, then
Yeah.
these guys aren't competitors. They are literally the same thing.
Well, I think that that's the danger of being a headline hamster and reading something like this and thinking that you understand how the asset actually functions within the ecosystem. This is not something that we don't do this, right? We don't just read the headlines and take it for face value. And if you do listen to educators out there that will just read a headline to you and then say, sorry if you thought this, without explaining to you how the asset is actually functioning within the institutions, then they're doing you a disservice. You can't just read the headlines and assume, oh, because the DTCC and Ripple, there was this narrative there. Oh, well, sorry, that's over now because we have confirmation of this. There's a lot of things that go into integrations and adoptions. You got to get beyond just the headlines.
And regarding that, the CEO Yuval, these are his words again. There is no exclusivity for DTCC, just first to be rewarded. Those are his words. Because he knows more are coming.
Yeah.
It's just they were the first ones to market.
And I find the timing of the development of Canton so coincidental.
Mm. Fair.
And like literally no one, I seriously doubt, and I really want someone to show me proof that they were talking about Canton in 2023 because they weren't.
I didn't find it.
This didn't even. When was the token offering?
25. 24 is when you could have talked about it because of the different things that are coming to light. But 25 is when people were starting to. Yeah, Crypto Never Sleeps was
He
in
was talking
April of
about
25.
Broadridge, yes, and Canton. I'm talking about 2023, 2024. I mean, this company came around in 2014, right? How
20,
much?
2014 was digital assets, and then they started working on DAML which then created Global Synchronizer, and then that led to the Canton Network. Canton Network was actually released like 2.0, I guess, was DAML 2.0 was 2020, 2022. And then they unveiled in 2023 Canton Network.
Yeah, Sleeps was
So
hiding in the background and came
yeah,
up.
that's fine.
Yeah,
Um,
3 years ago. Very nice.
yeah, 2023, exactly.
So, and I know his answer. It will replace XRPL and the need for it, right? Potentially,
I'll cut the
maybe.
words in his mouth.
Uh, do you guys want to vote on the next project?
I think that's a great idea. 119 people here, guys. Thank you for the 225,000 likes. Thank you for the shares. Thank you for being here. You guys chose Canton Network. Hopefully, you got a little bit out of it. With regards to the next project we are going to talk about. As you know, we're called Utility Unlock, so we do have a couple of things that need to be, prerequisites, call them. It has to be a project that has utility, that has real world use case. You guys have been voting every single week for the following week, so we're at that time. I'd ask that you guys do not spam the message, the chat. Just please once. I'm going to start right now. 3, 2, 1. Feel free to put in the project you want us to talk about. We already did Algorand. It is on the YouTube channel for Blockchain Bully.